Deadlock's movement system is truly incredible. Normally in these video essays, I like to criticize Deadlock somewhat to try and help the game improve, because I love the game, but it isn't perfect, and I want it to be the best that it can be. But in this video, it's really going to be nothing but praise. But I don't want to just endlessly glaze Valve for the movement system. I want to analyze why it works, because there are some fundamental things that Valve has done right with this movement system to make it a true masterpiece. So let's get started with the basics, the fundamental building blocks of Deadlock's movement system. This is the first great thing about it. It is extremely approachable. There are a limited number of moves that you can do, and all of them are extremely intuitive. You can walk around, you can dash, you can also slide when going down a slope or after finishing up a dash, just like this. You can wall jump, you can also double jump, and while you're in the air, you can also perform a dash, and if you time your dashes and your jumps right, you can perform a dash jump, which allows you to extend your momentum even farther, and it feels very natural to slide into that. That's it. Those are the building blocks of Deadlock's movement system, and to explain all of that to a new player, well, I mean, it took me like, what, 30, 40 seconds? I mean, that was nothing. But these are all very important elements of the movement system, and the way they interact with each other creates a lot of depth. When players are just starting out with the movement system, you can tell because their movement is pretty clunky. They will just spam dashes kind of like this, and they'll run out of stamina pretty quickly, and they won't elegantly flow around the map by using slides and various techniques, like wall jumps as well, to extend their momentum and keep the chain going. And no one movement skill overpowers or overshines the other. You're not just spamming the same move over and over again, you are using a wide array of these moves in different ways in order to traverse the map. And this is very important because there are examples of third-person shooter games with phenomenal movement systems that lack this same level of depth and skill expression. And in my opinion, the perfect example of this is Warframe, which is in many ways the PvE sister game to Deadlock. It's got characters with abilities, it's a third-person shooter, it's got builds and stuff, but it's in a PvE environment. And this game has an extremely fluid movement system, but it doesn't have nearly the same skill expression as Deadlock's movement system because, well, 99% of the time, the most effective way to traverse the map is just to bullet jump into a dodge roll, into a bullet jump, into maybe another bullet jump, into a dodge roll. You're effectively just spamming the same actions in order to traverse the map like this. And, I mean, it's very fun. You go really fast, and that feels great. But it's just not nearly as deep. And you don't have nearly as much skill expression as a result. You do still have, by the way, wall jumping and other more niche movement tools, but most of the time, they're just not as necessary, and as a matter of fact, if I were to climb this wall by using wall jumps and stuff, it would flat out just be slower than doing a bullet jump into a double jump just like that. So, yeah, it's just, it's a fun movement system, it feels really good, it's really fluid, but you can clearly tell that there is a very big difference between Warframe and Deadlock's movement. And I don't say all this to try and rag on Warframe, I really love Warframe's movement system, and it fits that game very well, but it wouldn't work well in Deadlock because Deadlock is a PvP game where skill expression is important, and you also don't want your characters to be too hyper-mobile like they are in Warframe, and so letting them spam an OP movement ability to get across the map just wouldn't really be fair. And this depth allows players to invest hundreds, if not thousands of hours into the movement system in Deadlock to truly perfect their skills, and that is just really fun. It feels amazing to sink your teeth into a system like this, and it's extremely rewarding too, because when you hit the perfect combination of movement abilities and key presses to traverse the map extremely quickly, it's just amazing. You feel like you're flying, and you feel like you're really outplaying your enemies. It is so good. And once again, Deadlock's movement system is extremely approachable. It's not obtuse at all, and all the moves feel really intuitive and easy to understand. You can explain them all in less than a minute. And one of them feels so good and natural that I actually forgot to mention it. It's the mantling. That just feels so intuitive that yeah, like, you forget it's there, but it's such a good part of the movement system, and it allows you to get up on top of just about every building in the game effortlessly. It feels amazing. And another thing that's great about all these fundamental tools is that they have a lot of freedom in how you use them. For example, I can dash in any direction. If I hold S, I dash backwards. If I hold D, I dash to the side. I can dash diagonally, and same for the wall jumps. I can choose to wall jump and hold the opposite direction of the wall to fly very far away from it, or I can hold tightly to the wall and kind of almost scale the wall vertically. It is really amazing how much they let you get away with in this game without making it feel overpowered, because all of these moves only get you so far. The dash only travels this far, the wall jump only lets you go this far, you have one double jump, and this freedom makes all the moves feel really smooth to pull off, and when you combo them together, they feel natural and they flow effortlessly. In essence, Deadlock's movement system feels like playing an instrument. The fundamental building blocks of the movement system, like the slide and the dash, are the notes that you can play, and the movement pattern that you take is the song that you weave with those notes. How good the song ends up sounding depends on how masterful you are at playing with the movement system. And an expert master of the movement system is going to be able to play some incredible songs using the same notes that a beginner would not be able to utilize in the same way. However, this amazing movement system would not feel as good if the map didn't enhance and facilitate your movement in this game, and that's what I want to talk about next, because the design of Deadlock's map is absolutely genius, and there are some fundamental aspects that make your movement feel especially good. And the first and most obvious thing that Valve has done is add these jump pads and zip lines to help you traverse the map much faster, but they are extremely intelligent because they augment your mobility rather than overriding it. Take this jump pad for example. By default, it just takes you up here to the bridge where you can snag this movement buff. But you can also use this jump pad in many unique ways with the movement system to really fine-tune where you end up going. One very obvious thing you can do is just use a double jump to extend your momentum and keep on traveling past the bridge. Add in an air dash, and yeah, you can travel much farther. And you can also, of course, change directions on the jump pad to travel somewhere totally different, just like this, and you can wall jump off of the neighboring buildings to get some incredible airtime. And these zip lines are just amazing too. They are the mechanism which takes you right the way back to base where you can heal up and buy items, and it's a very necessary thing in MOBAs. Other MOBAs just give the player a teleport feature that allows them to teleport back to base, and I mean, it's alright, but in a game with a rich movement system like Deadlock, it just wouldn't really make sense. These zip lines have you physically travel very quickly back to base, and that's nice, and it also lets you, well, not really use the movement system much if you don't want to, but there are ways that you can manipulate the zip line to your advantage, and the first very obvious thing that you can do is just use it to carry your momentum forward, especially if you have a movement buff or a zipline speed boost. I can get on the zipline and then carry the momentum forward with a double jump, a slide, and I can just travel all the way over here using that momentum I got from the zip line. Again, this enhances and complements the movement system rather than overriding it. And if you're real clever, then you might notice that the zip lines aren't even the fastest way to get around sometimes, and that by doing a skip like that, you can actually save yourself some time, and then you can still carry forward the momentum of the zip line and just come on over here to the jump pad. Nice and easy just like that. And then you can use a wall jump on this neighboring building, and then all of a sudden, wow, I'm on the frickin' green lane from the blue lane by using the zipline and the jump pad to augment my movement. This is amazing. It's so much better than just teleporting and then walking around. If you're going to have a really cool movement system in your game, then your map has to augment it with abilities that don't overwrite the movement system, but instead enhance it and allow you to do really cool things like that. But the genius of Valve's map design goes even further than that, because the map's layout and geometry facilitates your movement even more. You'll notice that most buildings allow you to get on them with just a simple wall jump like that. They're not too tall, they're not too short, they're just right to work with the movement system. And a lot of the buildings are really frickin' tall, which allows you to do some wall jumps even when you're soaring through the skies, just like this. You can sort of bounce around between the buildings Nice and easy, and then whoa, get on the zip line and look at that. I just went from building to building to building to building. You know how there are these jump pads to help you get up to the bridge buff area? Well, that's by no means the only way to get up there, and I mean, you can just do something like that, and the placement and positioning of these different map elements enables this rollout to be possible. Again, it synergizes with the movement system in the absolute most subtle way possible, but it still has a very profound impact on how good this movement system feels to use. The third major reason why Deadlock's movement system feels so good is because of movement tech, and this is very niche stuff that, honestly, some of it borders on the edge of being a flat-out bug, but it feels really good to use, and it enables this extra layer of depth for nerds who really want to get the most out of the movement system, but it doesn't detract from the average person's enjoyment of the movement system, and it's not really required to play the game at all. And the two biggest examples I can think of movement tech like this are air strafing and corner boosting, with air strafing definitely being the most important one. And yeah, this is pulled off when you have a bunch of momentum in the air and then you let go of your W key and you just hold A or D while looking to the side. For example, if I get on this event here and then I hold A and look to the side, I'm able to, yeah, just bounce to that building over there. Another great example is on this vent, and I showed it earlier, where you are able to, yeah, just travel in a completely different direction and end up over here, which is really freaking cool. And it's a nice subtle thing that's really just a feature of Source games at this point, and it's another thing that makes Deadlock's movement feel so good. And then of course you have corner boosting, where you can jump on top of a sign and then get a little boost like that from wall jumping. It's a really difficult tech to pull off, but it's something that allows you to get some extra height and outperform your enemies if you know how to use it. Tech like this pushes the fundamentals of Deadlock's movement system to the extreme, and it's not very intuitive for a lot of players, but it is still really fun to learn, and once you finally nail it, it feels like you're a part of an exclusive club, and you know a secret that not every other player does. And it allows you to fine-tune your movements even more, and when you outplay someone for the first time by air strafing somewhere they weren't expecting, oh, it feels incredible. The fourth and final thing that makes Deadlock's movement feel so good is the democratization of movement amongst all the characters in the game. Everyone has access to the stamina system and all of these movements that we've been talking about over the course of the entire video. Now obviously, some characters are going to be better at this than others. Take Viscus for example. He's an extremely agile character who's able to use his puddle punches with the movement system to go flying, and it is a blast, and he is obviously going to outpace slower characters like Graves, who only has 2 stamina bars and no movement ability. But Graves is still able to use the movement system to her advantage, and if you're really good at playing the notes of the movement system, then you can absolutely go flying just like this, and you can use the jump pads and bounce around and carry your momentum forward and just navigate the map super effectively. And if you don't believe me, here's a clip of me outrunning Wraith, a significantly faster character than Graves, just through my mastery of the movement system. Hello, friends. Yeah. Oh, no way, that was still in time? Okay. This makes the slow characters in Deadlock feel leagues better to play than the slow characters in other hero shooters, like Overwatch for example, where a slow character like Ana is able to walk, and then walk some more, and walk around, and there's no wall jumps or double jumps, she's walking, she's walking some more, and it's so droll and boring and just not fun in the same way that Deadlock's movement is, even among its slowest characters. Now, of course, Ana probably doesn't need to be doing crazy parkour throughout the battlefield, and Overwatch is balanced very differently to Deadlock, but the point remains the same that even if you're playing a slow character in Deadlock, you still feel like you have a lot of agency in your movement. There are very few times where you feel like you're just stuck and you're not able to outpace or outposition your enemies if you're good enough at the movement system. Whereas, in a game like this, if you get dove by a faster character than you, on Ana, I mean, you're not outrunning them. You're so slow and you have no agency in your movement whatsoever. Both of these games have a movement floor, a bottom speed limit that dictates how slow every character is allowed to be. But the difference is that Deadlock's movement floor is much higher than Overwatch's, and it just feels way better if you like good movement. However, that doesn't lead to movement in Deadlock feeling too fast or jarring, in the same way that actually Overwatch's movement feels, because Overwatch has very floaty, snappy movement in regards to things like instant strafing, where you're able to just, whoa, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, rapidly and instantly change directions and crouch instantly, and all this just has no inertia whatsoever. There's no weight behind your movements. You're just going. And that makes aiming feel really stressful in Overwatch. Overwatch is by far the most stressful game I've ever had to aim in. And aiming does not feel stressful in Deadlock in the same way. And that's because in Deadlock they've done a good job of making all your movements feel intuitive if you have even a basic understanding of physics. You can still strafe quickly, but there is some inertia to your strafing. You don't have the same level of instant strafing that Overwatch does, and so trying to shoot at a strafing character isn't nearly as cortisol spiking. And all of these other movements, like the dashes and slides, etc., are linear, so you don't have rapid changes in the direction that a target is moving. You're able to follow them and track them much more smoothly than you would in a game with super duper fast paced strafing and real zippy movement where targets are changing direction all the time. Aiming in Deadlock still takes a lot of skill. The hitboxes aren't crazy forgiving, and characters can move really fast, especially if they have a high movement speed stat. But it isn't nearly as stress-inducing, and it feels just gratifying, rewarding, and fun in all the right ways. So let's summarize everything we've discussed here. Deadlock's movement system feels amazing because it has a core set of fundamental movement abilities that are super easy to understand, but enable a lot of depth in how you combo them together. They're intuitive to understand, but can take hundreds, if not thousands of hours to master, and there's also a bunch of fun movement tech like air strafing that enables you to push your movement to the max. Deadlock also has great movement democratization. Every character in the game has access to this stamina system, and it makes even the slowest characters feel like they have a lot of agency in how they move around the map, and they can also outplay faster characters if their movement skills are good enough. Deadlock's map also facilitates movement by adding features that allow you to shoot your momentum forward and interact with your other movement skills, which feels amazing and feels so much better than if they just had a teleport back to base or something to that effect. Using Deadlock's movement system is like playing an instrument. Everyone has access to the same set of notes and the same exact instrument, but how good the song of the movement is played depends on the skill of the person who's actually playing the instrument. It is ultimately a masterful example of how to do a movement system right in a game, especially a competitive PvP game. It feels fair, it feels fun, and there is some wicked skill expression too. I absolutely love it, and it's one of the core things that made me love this game so much, and it's also part of why Deadlock is the only MOBA that I've ever actually wanted to play. But anyways, let me know what you think about Deadlock's movement system in the comments section down below. Do you agree with everything I've said here? Do you have something you want to add on, or do you think I've missed the mark on something? I would love to hear from you in the comments. And of course, while you're down there, make sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos from me. And if you want to support my content even more and get something back for it, then please consider becoming a member. You can join for just a couple bucks a month and you get a bunch of sweet perks as a result. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.